Hello class. I will be presenting the findings from my CIW survey report and document analysis. For my CIW survey report, I interviewed John, a local Raleigh real estate attorney. I thought that an attorney would be a great interviewee for a survey such as this. Here's a little background info on John. His office is located downtown Raleigh in the Huggard, Obiol, and Blake Law Offices building. John practices business, real estate planning, and administration, and other areas of law. He's a graduate of North Carolina State University, Campbell Law, and Georgetown University, where he received a Master's of Laws in Taxation degree. John has been practicing law for 25 years, most of which has been spent in the Raleigh area. During the CIW survey, John stated that he spends more than half of his work week writing. The types of documents that John writes are emails, contracts, leases, letters, deeds, powers of attorney, wills, affidavits, trusts, articles of incorporation or organization, LLC operating agreements, and shareholder agreements. John stated that he spends about a quarter of his work week speaking to clients in person and over the phone. Between writing and speaking with clients, John spends 30 hours a week communicating with others in a professional setting. When asked what kind of communication John felt was more important, he answered written. He explained his rationale by stating that written communication is a permanent record which can be accessed later and reviewed for accuracy. His documents are usually read by clients, other attorneys, and lenders. When asked about the benefit of effective writing, John stated that when the work he is hired to do is done correctly, he reserves his reputation as competent in his profession so that he can continue to earn a living. Consequences of ineffective writing for John range from mistakes that must be corrected to being sued for malpractice and losing his professional license. This rationale really drove home the importance of professional writing in the field of law. Over the past 5 years, John has become to rely a lot more on emails and voicemails versus telephone calls, and has also begun to use text messaging more frequently. Although all of John's clients may be different nationalities, he can only directly communicate with them through his only fluent language, English. John uses a professional interpreter whenever he needs to break a language barrier with a client. John's answer was concise when asked what communication skills he thinks recent college graduates should have. He said that spelling, grammar, and proofreading are what he thinks are most important. Misspelling words can come off as a lack of knowledge or lazy, and neither of these attributes should be present in a professional setting. After speaking with John, I've noticed all the topics that we have discussed present in the workforce. Not only is correct professional communication a huge part of John's livelihood, but it is also the difference between him making a living and being disbarred. I decided to switch gears a bit and choose a professional document related to data analytics. While analyzing the document that I chose for this project, I mostly focused on identifying boosters and hedges as moves. The educational document that I analyzed was co-published by SAS. The author, Philip Russum, discussed best practices of data analytics. The task that the writer of this document was attempting to accomplish was to educate professionals about business intelligence technologies and concepts. The document addressed the emerging trend of big data analytics and explained the untapped potential of massive amounts of data. The report that the document focused on drew responses from 325 data management professionals. One of the first boosters that I noticed was the use of the word obvious in the first sentence of the second paragraph about defining the big V's of big data. The author uses obvious to describe the primary attribute of big data. The use of a booster such as obvious shows confidence in the author's knowledge of his writing. This booster represents a strong claim that data volume is the primary attribute in big data. The author could have used a hedge such as primarily if he had less commitment to his claim. After learning about hedges and boosters from our weekly readings, I assumed that I would be finding more hedges in a professional document. I was not surprised when I found the author used roughly to describe users of a survey. Since this article is primarily focused on data analytics, I would assume that the author would use more precise metrics that are at his disposal. I, however, begun to question this thought process as I now know that professional writers will use hedges to show the author's uncertainty or respect for colleagues. As mentioned in the All and Lancaster article, I've noticed that there were more hedges than boosters in this article. My interpretation of the writing in this article backs the claims about professional writing that were made in our weekly readings. Throughout this project, I have learned that any field that relies on interpretation, such as law or analytics, will have a heavy focus on professional writing and communication. Thank you for your time watching my presentation.